Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Nerds on Tap, where we blend entrepreneurship, business, and the infusion of technology into our everyday lives. And in between questions, we are going to sample some good cold brews. So welcome to the show. Today's show is sponsored by Digital Boardwalk, your favorite IT department, managed services across the country, and Smarter Web, Pensacola's favorite marketing department. So check them out at digitalboardwalk.com and smarterweb.net. Also, before we get started, you can go to thenerdsontap.com and check out the trailer for our show. And we also have merch on there, so you can get one of these great shirts or hats or stickers or anything else that we have on there. So again, welcome to the show. Today we have Mr. Colby Sullivan. Welcome to the show, Colby.
Welcome.
Thanks, appreciate it. Been looking forward to being on this, so thanks for having me.
Good. Colby is a EV or electric vehicle enthusiast, a pinball aficionado.
Technically, I'm a professional pinball player.
Pinball player.
Yeah.
How many pinball machines do you have?
I've got 3 at home right now.
Now, why do you
small collection.
say professional?
Just because I'm in a league and we put in money and stuff and we can win money. So
Awesome.
Technically,
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So when you invite friends over to play pinball, do you make them put quarters in?
no, the games are all on free play. It's $10 buy-in and then basically you play the tournament and all that. So.
Cool. Well, back to Colby. He's also a University of Alabama college football fan. War Eagle.
I'm just gonna go.
Just kidding, Colby. And
My
his
best friend's an Auburn fan, so it's all good. I don't hate him.
and his favorite beer is I think the proper pronunciation is a Schofferhofer grapefruit Hefeweizen. I was calling it a Schofferhofer because of the German.
I think
the German
that's what it is.
pronunciation.
I think it's actually Schofferhofer,
But I checked it out online, and they're calling it a Schofferhofer.
Really? Okay. I've never heard it actually pronounced. So
Well, in Germany, and my German heritage, I would think it would be pronounced Schofferhofer.
yeah.
So, again, welcome to the show. Today, we're going to cover 3 segments, the ABCs of EVs, understanding the core technologies of how an electric vehicle works, especially with the ramp up with all the car manufacturers right now with the government push to move to green technology. Then we'll go into the Tesla phenomenon and, how much further ahead they are in regards to everything EV, from batteries to software engineering. And then we're going to cover the intersection of tech and EVs, and we'll go into electric vehicles and lifestyle. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with, so Colby, you haven't been on the show. This is only episode 2, but just to kind of give you the rundown, before we get into anything, we have to sample the first beer. So we're going to get right into the IPAs because I know someone told me you hate IPAs.
Yeah, that was me.
So Suds, why don't you give us the scoop on we're going into a variety pack from one brewer today, and go ahead and give us the background on the brewer and the first beer we're going to sample.
Alrighty, the brewery is the New Belgium Brewing Company, founded in 1991. Interesting thing there, the Fat Tire, their signature beer. The founder created this beer after taking a bike ride through Belgium from brewery to brewery. He called it Fat Tire because people made fun of the fat tires on his mountain bike as he was riding through Europe. Let's see. The first beer is the Voodoo Ranger. It's a juicy haze IPA packed with bright tropical aromas and citrusy flavoring that ends with a smooth finish.
Well, let's see if it ends with a smooth finish for you, Colby.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers. And here we go.
I've had it before, and it's honestly one of my favorites.
If you had given me this and I didn't know that it was an IPA, I would have no idea it was an IPA. It's not bitter at all.
So it's got some hops, but it's not as hoppy as a lot of the IPAs that I'm used to. And the aftertaste is definitely smooth, more like a lager.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a slight bite as it's going down, but leaves you with a nice, smooth, refreshing taste. So we'll sip on that while we go through the first segment. Let's talk about EVs, and let's get into the evolution of EVs.
The battery technology has come so far. I mean, Tesla, when they got over that 200 to 300 mile range breakthrough with their Model S, I think was their first one they came out with. A lot of lithium-ion batteries, you don't want to go too high all the time. Like
usually 60 to 80.
Yeah,
right?
60 to 80. Yeah, and you can set it in the car. You know, you can choose how high you want the battery to charge to. Kind of like your cell phone. Nowadays, if it goes to 80% and you have like smart charging turned on, it'll hold it there for a couple hours and then charge it to 100.
I think that was the main reason of changing to that, was just so you could go to 100 and not have to worry.
Yeah, most people are just going to do that naturally anyway.
Okay.
You know, Tesla can say, "Hey, don't charge over 80% unless you're going on like a road trip or something."
Yeah,
but people will still just do it, and it leads to battery degradation and stuff like that. You know, where instead of getting to 100, you may only get to 90 from that point on, kind of stuff. LFPs, they're designed to go to 100. Tesla will tell you, "Hey, if you got a new Model 3, charge it to 100% all the time."
And they've come out with some new software updates, and we'll get into that in the Tesla segment and talk about how that's been a game changer as far as the autonomy.
Can't believe I'm actually drinking this.
Well, it's good, right? Hey, all right. That's what this show's about, right? We're not just talking about tech and business, but we're turning you on to some really good brews. So hopefully, you know, after the show is over and we put it out on all the podcasts, we also put it out on social, and we will tag the brewers. So if you watch our show or go back to watch the recorded segments, you'll be able to go back and find these brews.
And I'm sure this is expanding far more than just the cars, obviously, on just battery tech alone. Do you know any other examples of a good way of using
so
these batteries?
Depending on what manufacturer you're talking about with the cars, they all just about have one sort of flagship EV.
Okay.
You know, like Hyundai has got the Ioniq 5, which is kind of like a very weird. Have you noticed like Hyundai's gone to that kind of angular look lately?
Yeah. I kind of like it.
It's weird. Like you look at it and you're like, what is this weird looking? It looks like it's slammed all the way down in the
kind of reminds me of going back to the 80s.
Yeah. If you were to take like a Volkswagen Golf and just like size it up a little bit.
Hey, speaking of Volkswagen, I was just reading in 2026, they have bought the rights to the Scout.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody remembers the Scout? You guys may not.
Don't.
I don't know because you're a little younger than me.
I don't, but what is that?
Oh, man.
I know of it. I'm not super familiar with it.
So you know how they brought back the Bronco and kind of redeveloped the Jeep and did all these things? Well, the Scout's going to come back fully electric.
Okay.
And they're building, from what I understand, the roof's going to be a solar panel, and
that's cool.
I don't know for sure, but it's supposed to release in 2026 under the VW brand, and because they bought the licensing. But that's the Scout. The Scout it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle. It was an off-road vehicle. Now, obviously, they're going to miniaturize it a little bit to meet the EV standards.
Okay.
You know how it works in the when they bring back these retro cars, they look different.
They're bringing back the bus too. They're calling it the Buzz.
The Buzz. I'm excited about the Buzz.
That's cool. I would want one,
dude. Like it looks exactly how you'd imagine a like 60s, 70s VW bus to look like in an EV.
It's a little more rounded.
Yeah, I've seen the Buzz. It looks really cool. I would totally own one, honestly. I mean, like, there's a lot of like surfer guys I could totally see having these EVs. My favorite VW model of EV right now is actually the ID4. It is like if you were to take a traditional crossover SUV, like something like in the Nissan Rogue or RAV4 line, and just sort of chisel an EV out of that, you would have the ID4, and it's supposed to be kind of like their answer to the EV for the masses. You know, they want to bring EVs to the people, and it's just a real cool looking car, and 45, 50 grand. I mean, cars are expensive now, but the ID4 is really cool. I like that.
The interesting thing, this is a great conversation because from well, first of all, we have gone from human-powered cars to fossil fuel-powered cars to EV, human-powered. I don't know if anybody remembers
Flintstone. I got
Flintstones. It, yeah. Okay, you got the hook on that. But I was talking to a gentleman that owns a car dealership not that long ago about their service centers. And they're worried. They're worried. They buy all this real estate for car dealerships. But EVs, the neat thing about EVs, it's a computer on wheels. So you've got tires, you've got brakes.
Charging controllers and batteries.
Charging controllers, basically a computer and batteries. And the batteries being probably the most expensive thing in the vehicle. And then adding in the solar panels. So eventually these cars are going to blow up into the same, multi-configuration that fossil fuel gas-powered cars are today, because we've got all these sensors and all these controllers and all these things in the vehicles. But right now, it's really just 4 to 5 major components, so there's less to break. Mm-hmm. So they're worried about having all these service centers and not needing them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people that own EVs. I don't own one right now, as I'm hoping to in the future. But I've talked to a lot of people that have them, and the maintenance fees are significantly less. I mean, they just are less moving parts, no oil changes, no like engine, rod problems to worry about, all that stuff. All you have to really worry about is replacing your tires every now and then, because EVs are heavier than traditional cars, so your tires wear down a little faster, but. Other than that, and brakes, air filters, stuff like that, the maintenance is significantly less on an EV. That's the biggest thing for me, is to not have to deal with those, repetitive maintenance tasks. Like I hate oil changes. I understand the need for them. Like, I'm not one of those people that lets my oil light turn on. Like, I do them like every 3,000-4,000 miles, but like, I'm so tired of it.
I haven't changed my oil since my teenage years. When, my first oil change was on a 72 VW Super Beetle. That was my first car. Yeah, man, I loved it. I was a big VW fan growing up.
Probably like the ID4, man.
Yeah,
it's super cool looking.
I know. I've been following it for years, and I'm like, when are they going to come out with the damn thing?
Yeah.
But let's kind of stay on task here, and let's talk about the charging technologies. My holdup has been 2 things with EVs. Now, I will tell you, I am about to buy an EV. I am getting very close, and I will probably have one within the next year, and I'm steering more towards Tesla because of the software development and the battery technology and, native to Tesla. But let's talk about that. My holdup with EVs has been 2 things. Distance, right?
Yep. Range anxiety, yep.
Well, let's say 3 things. Distance, my impatience with things. I don't want to, I've talked to people that say, yeah, I've had to stand there and, it takes a lot longer. You can't just pull in, gas up, and leave.
Sure.
And the third thing would be, distance, impatience, and just, kind of
what general fear?
Overall fear of, hey, where's this thing going? Now that it's going mainstream, and I'm glad it is. I think everybody will be driving an EV.
Are we all glad we are moving more towards batteries than
there are a lot of people that are just steadfastly against it. Are you like that?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
That's fine. I get it. Like, there's a lot of people that just love their V8 engines. They want that throaty sound. They want their, their turbos and all that. I get it.
Wait. So listen.
I'm kind of either way.
So I've been on the fence with it. I love the idea of EVs. The problem I've had, is the way, and I'm not going to point the finger at government or anything. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to get into all of that. But I want to improve the green footprint, our carbon footprint. I want to do all that. But I want to, I go in, I listen, and I watch TED Talks, and I go into a lot of things, and I educate myself. I don't just listen to what the government or whoever is, pushing.
I do my own research
based on an agenda. I do my own research. So TED Talk, Mr. Graham Conway. I actually just pulled it back up here. This is a TED Talk that I watched a while back, and we'll tag it in the show. But he did a talk about the carbon footprint in regards to the old days of horse and carriage versus gas powered versus hybrid versus electric. And of course, with horse-powered, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because I want you to go watch that TED Talk because it's 15 minutes of fascinating information, and the way he presents it is incredible. But it basically talks about a horse. You know, when a horse puts methane or puts it out into the universe, it comes back in the form of plants and things like that, and regenerates through our earth. But when you're talking about gas and hybrid and electric, the manufacturing life cycle of those, you know, you're putting it out there and it's not necessarily coming back and recycling. The only part I'm going to put out regarding fully electric vehicles, what he says in that talk, and I highly recommend you go watch it, is that hybrid vehicles right now in today's timestamp is actually more green than going fully electric because of the manufacturing process. He does say that it takes 90,000 miles in an electric vehicle just to break even on that carbon footprint.
Yep. Yeah.
Who keeps a car for 90,000?
No, totally. I mean, there was a study done last year. I wish I had the link. I could show you guys, but there was a study done that basically said that even with all the EV sales and all the other like green sales we've started to go towards, we've only saved 2 days worth of carbon emissions on the entire planet. And it's like, and it's just because fossil fuels are so just ingrained into society, you know, human society.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I got a question. I don't know if y'all know this, and I'm unsure, so I'm asking. Is, to my understanding, electric cars are basically just going to be better when you're using a battery in terms of not putting so much carbon. But when you put out carbon, it makes the earth technically greener. It just technically damages the atmosphere on a level. So there's basically just a battle of like, are you wanting to damage the atmosphere, or are you wanting to damage the greenery more? And it's almost like that battle back and forth.
Yeah.
It's my understanding on how it works, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Honestly, you know, I'm not a scientist. When it comes to my interest in EVs, you know, I don't want this to sound insensitive, so I'll try to phrase it the right way. But like the environmental impacts, good or bad, with EV wasn't really a thing that I was considering, if that makes sense. In other words, like I really enjoy them or got into them.
Yeah.
What is it, insanity mode on a Tesla? I have done that, and it almost broke my neck.
Ludicrous mode?
Yeah. Ludicrous mode. That's what it is.
You know, it's the Spaceballs joke. You know, they've gone to plaid. That's where that comes from, the Model S. And
now,
Model
is that
X
only
plaid.
in the plaid, or is that in the S as well?
So the plaid is a variant of the S and the X.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those two models can have the plaid. I don't believe there is a plaid Model 3 or Y.
Well, a Model 3 just came out, I want to say, right? Or is it
No, it's been
a couple
Model
years.
3's came
No.
out.
A new Model 3.
Oh.
I was just seeing
Model
today.
plaid?
I don't know.
Gotcha.
I just know there's a new Model 3 coming out.
Well,
I'm curious.
They
if
make changes every year.
That.
Tesla definitely leads the way with over-the-air updates. I mean, they have maintained their software just repeatedly over the years. I mean, there are people that, you know, own a 2017 Model 3 that have the current software that basically makes that car a 2023. Now, there are some differences with hardware, radar, camera sensor, stuff like that, but the software package is basically going to make it the same car over the life of the vehicle. I mean, they fix bug fixes. They release updates for new features. They can increase horsepower with software. I mean, it's amazing.
Colby, let's get into charging. Let's talk about charging stations, because that was my number 3. That's earlier in the podcast. I was talking about my 3 holdups. My number 3 is actually the lack of charging stations. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, the supercharger network is basically everywhere now. I mean, Tesla has spent so much time getting their infrastructure in place because it doesn't do them any good if they have all these cars on the road and don't have any way to charge them. So they really took they did it the right way and got the infrastructure in place and then started exploding with sales. Range anxiety is a thing, man. I mean, I get it. You don't want to be on a road trip with your family and have to worry about when you're going to run out of battery and stuff like that. But Tesla specifically, they make it very easy to find the nearest, supercharger that's close to you, or even if they have to reroute you, the trip planner in the car basically will just tell you, hey, you've got this much battery, you need this much to get there, and it basically tells you where to go. Other manufacturers are going to be able to use the supercharger network soon. Tesla is basically being forced by the government to do that. I suspect 2 or 3 stalls at each supercharger will be allocated to other, EVs. I think it's a good thing because Electrify America and some of the other, non-Tesla chargers are finicky at best. So I think it's good that other EV owners are going to be able to use the supercharger network. The Tesla connector is a different physical connector than the main North American one. Is called CCS. It's just the type of connector that they use. That's the beauty of standards. There's so many to choose from. I absolutely hate that we can't.
Gotta love proprietary technology, right?
Yeah. I think ultimately they will settle on one. If it's not Tesla, they'll just adapt one together. But if you don't have a Tesla and you don't want to get a Tesla for whatever reason, and you want to shop other EVs, most of them are going to use this company called Electrify America. You may refer to them as EA, not the video game company, but like EA Charging. There's also a smaller one called ChargePoint, which it's my understanding that ChargePoint works a lot better. Like just Tesla superchargers, you plug in, you pay, you go. And that's how ChargePoint is. They're very reliable. They're just a very small footprint. Electrify America, or EA, is probably the most mainstream of the non-Tesla networks out there. They're kind of, expanding across North America. They are your charging infrastructure for EVs if you don't own a Tesla. You go out and you buy a Chevy Bolt or a ID4 or what's Taycan, I think, from Porsche. They're going to use that type of charger. And I mean, they're all over the place now, but they aren't as, seasoned as the supercharger network. So they can be finicky. People have reported problems with the connectors not working or seeing the battery controller, payment issues, that kind of stuff. So it's a learning process for them. I think most people are happier with ChargePoint, but they have a very small footprint. EA seems to be the guy, so to speak, with the non-Tesla network. So we'll see how it goes. The fact that Tesla's opening up their supercharger network to other manufacturers could play a big role into how things go in the future.
Electrify America and ChargePoint.
Yeah, those are the two main ones. EA is like 80%.
Yeah.
Where ChargePoint is smaller. So I mean, EA is kind of everywhere.
All right, we'll go ahead and tag those in the show too, so our audience can go ahead and get educated on the different companies behind the push on the charging technology. Now that brings me into range anxiety. I mean, range anxiety was one of my holdups. Now, I'm seeing cars now. I'm seeing some of these EVs. They've got a 500-mile range. Now, obviously, that's not if you're in ludicrous mode. But let's talk about that.
Yeah, Tesla's new semi-truck that they're coming out with has a range of 500 miles.
Yeah,
and to be able to have that amount of torque in a semi-truck, to be able to climb steep grades and just pass people with ease and not have to worry about range is a huge benefit. I mean, for a while when EVs came out, I mean, they weren't even able to break the 50-mile barrier. The very first EV I rode in was a Toyota RAV4, and I think it got 40 miles on the battery. We've made improvements since then with battery technology and things like that. Right now, on average, if I had to guess, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but if I had to guess, I would say that most EVs are about 250 miles, which, I mean, that is a lot, especially if you're in a Tesla and you can just stop at a supercharger anywhere. There's newer EVs that are coming out. The Tesla semi-truck is apparently supposed to be able to get 500 miles on a battery, which I'll believe that when I see it, but that battery pack is huge. I know they're doing a lot of stuff with the Cybertruck. I don't know the exact range on that one. The problem with the Cybertruck that recently is they've made so many little revisions to it. I mean, I've seen pictures of like 20 different Cybertrucks on the road, and they're like all different. They just look like slightly different variations. The battery, I would say that if they can get 350 to 400 miles easily on a Cybertruck. Those things are going to sell like hotcakes. Even as crazy as they look, there are people out there who are going to be like, I want one of those, man. I would totally own one if I felt like I, wouldn't feel self-conscious about it. It just looks so silly, I think, but I also think it looks cool. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Most people are going to have less than a 10-mile commute per day, right? So
that's me.
Yeah, that's what I am. So if that's the case,
ludicrous mode all the way to
yeah,
work,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, just over the bridge, Yeah.
Autonomy mode.
But you can charge that with just your regular 110 outlet. You only get like 2 miles per hour charging on that type of infrastructure. But if you're only going 10, 15 miles, that's fine. As far as range anxiety, I mean, you just have to plan it out. Like, again, we keep bringing up Tesla, but like they are the leader in this space for a reason. You can just program your route, or route if you're one of those, in Tesla, and your car will just basically tell you, hey, this is a 4-hour trip. We've got superchargers here. We recommend 2-3 stops here. Boom. It's just.
So I want to talk on that if I can, because I just did a few months ago, went to Tennessee with a Tesla. And so I wanted to see how it works. This was Model 3. Okay. And my biggest worry going into it was just like, what if I'm just in between states, I can't find a charging station, and I'm just stuck on the side of the road, right? I guess that's what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
There were so many.
They're everywhere.
So many. Each city,
right?
Even a small little town had at least like one.
Yeah.
I was surprised. In this area, was there 3? And then I want to say, like, every time when I was going, I could have pulled over at any moment and charged, and I would purposely try to see how far I could go. But they will show you the entire time you're driving where the next one is.
What kind of charging times were you guys looking at?
What if I would say 30 minutes?
I've heard 30 minutes is about the average.
45 minutes if we want a full.
Right.
Cool. I was in Nashville at a MSP conference, actually at Exchange Nashville recently, and I was hanging out with a bunch of other MSP CEOs and things like that, and a lot of them had Teslas. And
he's getting one.
Yeah, well, one of the guys, he said he had an 8-hour drive or an 8-hour commute. He had the Tesla Model S, and he had the full autonomy package and all of that. And with the new software updates, apparently they've improved a lot of that. And he said, I think I told you guys this story, but I want to do it on air. He said he was in autonomy mode pretty much the whole time. He was kind of hanging out, and he didn't really drive the whole way. And he said that the car will exit when it needs to charge. It'll take you straight to the charging station, yada yada yada. But he did say you can also program it to maybe go a little over the speed limit, just like you would drive your normal gas vehicle. And he had it 6 miles over the speed limit, and he was dozing off in full autonomy mode. I know, right? And it took an exit. An exit that it was supposed to take, but it took it at 6 miles over the speed limit.
Goodness.
And he said it whipped him awake because he freaked out. It was going around with this barricade and just whipping around this corner. He said it was perfectly fine. It handled itself perfectly fine, but it was enough to make him not want to do that again.
Yeah.
So there are, and you've heard the stories about these vehicles and these batteries in, in the early days of Tesla, where, the autonomy was not seeing things correctly. I heard about a story about it going under a semi-truck and a guy getting decapitated and things. But I will tell you, from what I understand, with AI and the improvements in AI over the years, I think that might be a thing of the past, unless your car. One of my biggest fears, in the cybersecurity realm, and knowing what I know about cybersecurity, is if one of these car manufacturers gets hacked, these cars pull in updates from the manufacturers for their software. What if somebody pushes a car update to make the cars go 1,000 miles or 200 miles an hour in a municipality, and next thing you know, you've got public chaos.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a valid concern. I think that if you're going to drive an EV and do any kind of autonomous driving, you're going to have some inherent trust in the system. You're just going to have to. If you're not comfortable with that, no one's going to force you to use it. I will say that I know Tesla specifically, like with their autopilot, which is different than full self-driving. But if you just put it on autopilot and don't touch the steering wheel, within like a minute and a half, the car will just pull over and disable itself, safely until you you have to let it sit for a few minutes and reset and put your hand back on the wheel and go. So, I mean, there are safety, things that are in place that are designed to prevent this kind of stuff. But I mean, some of the stuff you read about, is kind of scary. I can say the technology, I think, is only going to get better as we get, more detailed maps of the roads and things like that. It doesn't help that we're always undergoing construction, but these cars are so smart and able to determine the difference between, a parking lot cone, like parking cone, versus a child, versus a normal sized human, versus an animal. It can differentiate between cars, trucks, vans. They're very smart, and I think they're only going to get better. I feel like this day and age, there's just a certain amount of, I guess, inherent trust that people just have to have. I mean, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Airplanes, a lot of people have the misconception that an airplane is fully driven by the pilot, right?
Yeah.
The pilot does everything. Well, they don't.
They don't.
I mean, the landings, the take, everything, they're there as a backup for your AI system, your AI-driven system.
When I was driving the Tesla, every 20 seconds, it makes you grab the wheel and mess with the...
Yeah, because there's a difference in what's called autopilot, which is essentially auto steer. Like when you're on the interstate and you put it on autopilot, it will adjust speed depending on, the amount of space between you and the car in front of you. It can change lanes, but that's not fully autonomous driving. Like full self-driving is still technically in beta right now. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos where you can watch people just filming and they're just sitting there.
If you do that, it'll eventually just pull over.
You can take over at any time with full self-driving, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, if you put it on autopilot, after like a minute and a half, like it will literally just stop and be like, look, you can't drive the car for 5 minutes until you
Now it's not going to just stop in the middle of the interstate.
It pulls
and
over.
Everybody crash into you. It's going to pull over for you, and then
One of the main channels that I watch on YouTube with regard to EVs is a channel called Out of Spec Reviews. It is run by this younger guy named Kyle, I believe. He is based out in Colorado, and he just tests all kinds of EVs. I mean, puts them through like 10% to 0 tests as far as battery. He goes from 100 to 0. He does these very scientific tests where he will use the same interstate road. He tries to film it around the same weather pattern, so there's not too many effects there. He'll go 70 miles an hour on cruise, and he will turn around and use the same path over and over until he runs out. And he knows these cars like top to bottom. He knows which ones have battery buffer and which ones don't, because some of them, they show you 0, but they may have 10 miles left. And I've seen him back into a charging station with literally 0 battery remaining, and as soon as he stops, the car turns off. And like, he just knows these cars, right? And he's very knowledgeable about them and will tell you how to use them. And he's just a really good channel. I would check him out.
So you can tell he's being genuine and not being biased towards it.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got tons of videos on ID4, Model 3, Model Y. He drives a Model S Plaid. He did the video where Tesla came out and for free replaced his yoke steering wheel with the more traditional rounded one, because that was a big point of contention with some of the Tesla owners with the Model S and X, is the steering wheel yoke. The yoke felt way different than a traditional steering wheel. Out of Spec Reviews is really good. There's a couple of other ones I watch where they're just showing you like their personal Tesla, but I would check that one out for sure. Kyle's an awesome dude.
All right, so we're going to segue into our next beer tasting. You need to down that IPA before we get into it.
Did you drank yours? Did you finish yours?
Oh yeah, we've been.
You're behind.
So now we're going to get into the next one, and I think, is this a lager, Suds? What do we got?
It's another ale. It's the Fat Tire Ale. This is their signature beer. Flavor profile takes inspiration from 1930s Belgium. Fat Tire blends a subtle malt presence with a slightly fruity hop profile and crisp finish to create a bright and balanced beer that drinks easy.
Cheers.
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 Oh yeah, that's smooth.
It's so smooth.
So that would be a good go-to beer for every day.
This when I'm like, if people have it and I'm out and about or whatever.
Yeah,
these are very good.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a beer I can
like
drink
Stella,
on an
almost?
everyday. Yeah, a little bit. Maybe not as kind of a crispness as a Stella,
Yeah,
but
a little bit lighter.
but more of a smooth finish.
Speaking of Stella, that's actually my favorite go-to in terms of just where you go to a normal bar and they just have the standards. Stella's like my favorite.
Take the knife and like.
So, guys, let's get into the Tesla phenomenon. Let's talk about what we've been talking about this whole show. Even though we've talked about lots of car manufacturers, we've talked about battery technology, the evolution of the EV, and we got into some tech regarding it. Tesla has led the pack in regards to, I mean, you know, some of us thought Elon Musk was crazy in the early days, but come on, this guy has accomplished a lot. Let's see what he does with Twitter or X and all that next. But I'm most excited about what he's done with SpaceX, and he's evolved using AI, the way the rockets, you know, can be reused and recycled. I mean, that was a huge thing. But sticking on the EV on this episode, what he has led the pack with in regards to EVs has been nothing short of a phenomenon. So let's get in it. What makes Tesla unique in the EV landscape?
The network is built into the car, meaning the car knows exactly where they are. It knows how to get there. It based on driving mechanics and weather and all that and traffic, it knows how much range you need to get to that.
Before I took my trip, it told me every spot I could go with the supercharge,
and it will adjust on the fly,
yes,
and recommend new routes for you, that kind of stuff. I mean, you just got to change your mindset a little bit. Like, instead of getting gas now, you're just getting electricity while you use the restroom, get some food, get some lunch, whatever. You can watch Netflix in the car.
Yeah, but
while you're charging,
everyone thinks you got to charge to 100 or even charge to 50. Treat it like gas. Like,
so can you watch Netflix while you're driving?
No.
Well, we need to hack that.
Yeah,
we need to figure out how to improve that.
Because they have games that you can play Witcher 3.
You've seen the fire,
but you got to be stopped and in park,
mode.
right? You got to be in park to do that. See,
look at like just their technology. Like, what keeps them apart in the space is what you asked earlier. Tesla literally has a thing called dog mode. You leave you go to the grocery store or whatever. You leave your car, it's off, but like the AC is on, and then on the screen it tells people, hey, my owner will be back soon. The AC is on. Yeah. I'm fine. Don't break the glass. You can
go on your phone and be like, hey, I want my AC to come on right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go to my car in about 5 minutes. So it's really convenient.
So what's your favorite model? I mean, I know. So I'm torn between the S and the X. And the reason I talk about the X,
funny.
Well, I got picked up.
I get it. I'm the exact opposite, but go ahead.
I got picked up in one in Vegas, and I was blown away. I was standing too close to the door. The guy's like, "Hey, you got to step back. These doors are going to open." They went straight up.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the car and we were sitting at a light, just the autonomy part of it, I was watching on the screen in front, the people walking in front of the car and how the car was identifying the humans walking back and forth. And to me, I was blown away by it.
Yeah, I mean, so you asked my favorite models, definitely the 3 and the Y. Yeah, so the S is Tesla's performance sedan. I mean, it is definitely for people who like to drive and hug the road. I mean, it's a air suspension, very smooth ride. To be honest, I feel like it's just too much machine for me. I would not feel safe driving one of those. Not because the car is dangerous, but just I wouldn't trust myself. The X is basically the same thing as far as the performance, but in a bigger style SUV. I do like those doors and everything, but for my current lifestyle, I feel like the Y would be best. It's the #1 selling car in America right now, beating the Corolla and Camry after like 2 decades of their dominance. So they're definitely really popular. A Y is just a bigger Model 3. The Model 3 is just a standard sedan that most people are using as like a commuter car, that kind of stuff. The Y is just a enlarged version of that. Like, they literally took the Model 3 seats and put them onto a riser and just bolted them in. They didn't even redesign the seats. Very minimalistic interior. And I don't know, man. I like the look of the Y. It has that really cool futuristic teardrop shape without being too flashy. So that's my pick. You know, the Y is kind of like a crossover SUV.
How much is the Model Y?
50,000
Okay,
for the all-wheel drive long range variant. You can get them for like 45. You know, plus the 3 and the Y right now. I mean, this, at time of filming, they still have $7,500 rebates.
Yeah, but
until the end of the year.
So does the Y? Can you put it in? I forget what the mode is, but can you make it dance?
You can make it dance.
The X you can make dance.
Oh, with the doors and stuff. And
Yeah,
no,
it flaps its doors and does.
No,
I mean, hey, that's sold.
Yeah, like I said, the Y, the Y is a Model 3 that they just it's a bigger Model 3 that's more of a crossover SUV. Like,
yeah, it can fit what 7 people. I think that's what I saw.
You can get the 7-seat variant in the Y. Yeah, for sure.
And cargo space. There's a lot of cargo space in there.
Yeah.
So what about the ecosystem that Tesla's developing? Let's talk about their Powerwall and their.
You know, the Powerwall is really cool. For those who aren't familiar, it's a battery that you can use to sort of supplement your power. So if you've got solar on your roof, you know, or
similar to an inverter but in a bigger format.
Yeah, instead of so if you have a solar grid tie-in but don't have batteries, you know, whatever you don't use gets fed back into the grid or whatever. But with batteries, during the day, the solar is charging the batteries, and then at night the batteries are powering your house.
Yeah.
Now they can't last forever, but you can basically offset your entire power bill if you build it right that way.
Eventually start making money if you can do it smart.
Yeah, I mean, so
you have solar panels.
Yeah, right? So we can probably get into it, a little bit if you want.
I'd like to hear about it.
So I had to replace my roof a couple years ago from Hurricane Sally. Did some pretty hefty damage on it. So I had a new roof in place. I've wanted solar panels for a while because I want my house to be ready for an EV. Once I'm ready to make the purchase, and got the solar panels put on the roof. I decided not to go with a battery system. Around here, our power grid is fairly reliable. I was able to spec my system to be big enough to where I can produce more power than I use. And I've not had a power bill since we did this. We turned on the solar panels in January. So it's cool because I'm going to have a full year's worth of data to refer back to and know what months are good, what months are bad. And honestly, I haven't had any bad months. I mean, I look at my app all the time and I get some really good production. Super excited about it, man. It's great feeling that I don't have to worry about that. I'm paying $125 less a month paying back my solar loan than I was paying the power company. So I've got about an 8 to 10 year ROI on that. And then for 20 years, the solar panels are just going to produce power for free for me, which is super nice. Looking forward to being able to charge my EV for free, essentially. I spec'd my system appropriately with Meraki Solar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
Yep.
They're all over the country. I worked with them to build my system the way I wanted it, as far as offset. You know, I didn't want to have too little. I didn't want to have too much. I have not had a power bill since I went with solar, with the exception of the $25 meter fee that you just have to have for having the.
That's incredible.
So
that's awesome.
Go ahead.
No, it's just that's just awesome.
Now for me personally, I took out a loan to zero down, to do the solar. My loan is about $125 a month cheaper than I was paying on average for power. So I was averaging about $250, $275.
But when will your return on investment match up, and how long do you think that's going to take?
So for
I've
me,
heard 20 to 30 years or so.
No, it's way less than that usually.
Okay.
Like I did the math, and for me, it's about 8. So
8 years.
Yeah, I'm saving like $125 a month. So, yeah.
So you're gonna stay in that house.
So me and my wife sat down and looked at the numbers. We shopped around for some local vendors here. I had a couple come by, and it's funny. We've had them installed for 9 months now, and I still have people knock on my door asking if I'm interested in solar because of how our house is oriented and where the solar panels are. Like you cannot see them from the street, so it's actually kind of cool. We did the research. We got a loan, and we talked to some people who already have it, some people on our street, some people that I know, and honestly, for us, it was just really a no-brainer.
Cool. I'm already.
Tesla, their solars they have
Is that what you're using?
No, I'm not using them personally.
Okay.
They have a thing where they will basically price match anybody. Like, yeah. So yeah, I decided not to go that route. I went with a local company or whatever. I had a good relationship with the local rep here.
So we're gonna jump into the intersection of tech and EVs and finish it up with electric vehicles and lifestyle and what people are experiencing now. But first, we gotta let Colby catch up with us again.
One step behind.
I think we're jumping into something a little bit darker. Suds, take it away.
All right, this is the New Belgium 1554. Although dark in color, 1554 is not a porter, stout, Schwarzbier, or Bock. Rather, it is a style called Zwart, which is Flemish for black. It uses Groot for bittering, includes a variety of special dark malts, a dash of licorice root, and a European lager yeast that's fermented at ale temperatures. And Groot, which is spelled like fruit, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it's a very interesting history on how local places kept it a secret and charged taxes on it.
So this beer takes me back to my 20s.
It's smoky at the end. Did you get that?
Yeah, no, I'm getting the smoky tones. It takes me back to my 20s when I was drinking Guinness and Newcastle, and those were my go-tos. It's definitely a darker beer. It's a sipping beer. It's something that's going to sit in front of you for a while before you finish, unless you're I was going to refer to one of my friends.
I don't know if I'll finish this one personally, but it's
you're on the show, and that's part of being on the show. You've
finish
got to finish what's on your flight. So.
I meant like if
I do have some upcoming folks coming on the show that do not want beer on here. They want wine or cider, and we will do that. But we're gonna have to make fun of them on the show.
I'll drink it. That's what I should have. What I meant was, it's not something I would really order.
No, I wouldn't either. I would have in my 20s.
I'm definitely different than y'all. This would be
like
what
it?
I would get more than those.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a lot older, and when you get older, you tend to your palate changes a little bit.
Like as a kid,
to me, I'm like, whoa, this is so flavorful.
I couldn't stand Brussels sprouts or broccoli as a kid. Now it's just like, dude, fry them up. So good.
So Colby, I'm going to lean on your experience as a senior implementation engineer at Digital Boardwalk, and
my 10 years is coming up.
Yeah, I know, and I heard from the CEO of that company that you're going to get roasted this year.
Yeah.
So you're going to hit your 10 years, which is a big milestone at Digital Boardwalk. So there's going to be a roast, and I think you're the only one. No, it's you and one other person.
Kathleen, right?
Yeah, but I can't talk about it here because if she listens to it,
I just meant that.
Please don't roast me at the Christmas party. You're only supposed to roast
Please
Colby.
do.
She's in for a surprise.
But no, congrats. I mean, 10
the good news
awesome.
is, the good news is, Tim, we're gonna know if she watches this show or not, because if she doesn't,
she ain't watching.
She's not gonna know. So, Kathleen, if you're listening to this, let me know, because you're getting roasted at this year's Christmas party, whether you like it or not. She's not going to show up now. So tell me how, pulling from your experience in cybersecurity and IT and tech, how that intersects with your love of EVs and why EVs just resonate so much with you.
That's a great question, dude.
Before you say anything, my biggest guess would be, we're computer dorks, right? And what you were mentioning earlier, the less moving parts, the better, right? And Tesla is all about that. Like, in the computer mindset, we would want this. So, you know what I mean?
Like, we've grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, right? Just everything that, especially with Tesla, you got your phone in your pocket. Your phone is your key. You walk up to it, it unlocks it. You get in. You don't even turn the car on. It is on.
I mean, can't you drive your car with your phone on some models?
So yeah, like depending on what autonomous version that you get. I mean, your car can just find you. Like
drive up.
I read about that.
That's awesome.
If it's in a parking lot, it will literally come to you.
Yeah, nice.
It's called Summon. I think it's called.
I have to have that because I hate
amazing.
And you literally just see your car.
Your
back.
own valet.
You're like 10 feet away from it, and you just see your car back out, turn, and come pick you up. Like, come on,
that's awesome.
Dude.
I remember one time I was in a big city. I think it was Chicago, and a lot younger, ladies and gentlemen, and I couldn't find my car. I had been I was on.
I've been there before. Yeah.
Couldn't find my car. couldn't think straight. It would be cool to hit a button and go, come to me, baby, come to me.
Yeah. Another thing, I mean, like, you just can't put a price on the automatic over-the-air updates. You know, your car's in the garage. It either connects to
how do you?
So you pay for if you choose to pay for the premium connectivity. I think it's like $10 a month. Your car has internet.
Sweet.
So you don't need your phone. Like you go like all of the stuff you do on Netflix or the routing, you know, with the supercharger network or just planning a regular trip. That's all done over just the internet built into the car. Yeah, super awesome. Plus, they're just cool. I mean, come on.
Well, you know, and you talked about ignition striking versus push button versus it being all the time, always on.
Yeah.
I was on a cross-country road trip with my family this summer, and we were crossing through Ronan, Montana, and pulled in to get gas. My truck wouldn't start. When I rebooted it, or when I jumped it on my portable,
those things are awesome.
Ion, battery jumper.
I've got one.
It jumped. When I left, my truck would not shift out of first gear. I'm like, great. I'm pulling a camper. I got all this going on. I had to drop the camper. I had to drive 3 miles across town to go to a dealership for them to reset my vehicle. I needed a battery, right? The battery was low. It needed a battery. It had to be reset. Here's why. And this is how they explain it to me. Nowadays, our cars, our gas-powered cars are basically a network, like a computer network. There's approximately 15 modules in the car that communicate with one another. If one module or if the voltage spikes aren't, or if the voltage levels aren't hitting the right voltages, those modules will freak out. Now, in this case, because my battery wasn't delivering the right power, and it's a push-button start. You think, oh, wow, that's awesome. It's a push-button start. Well, guess what? That push button is controlling a module through a computer that's hitting another module. And when one of those modules freaks out, guess what? Because my voltage levels weren't regulating properly, my transmission wouldn't go out of first gear.
Dang.
I have an air system on that truck that goes up and down, and the rear of it pumped all the way up and the front was down, and I was pulling a camper, and I'm like, oh my God.
Nice.
So a bad battery caused all those problems.
Wow.
Well,
Now,
we're
talking about EVs.
For sure, yeah. There's definitely things that can go wrong. I mean, so one thing that's really cool about Tesla specifically, and sorry, this is a theme of this this episode. They have their mobile repair service where if something breaks down, and their cars are not infallible. You're going to have problems, but they can actually come out to you and repair the issue without having to bring your car in most of the time. I saw on one of the out of spec review videos where Kyle had bought a Model S and it came with the yoke style steering wheel, I guess, and he didn't want that. He wanted a traditional round steering wheel. Tesla came out, replaced the steering wheel, and he was good to go.
Do you have employees in this area? How does that work?
They have authorized Tesla repair people that just are in a little Ford Transit or something, and they just come to you and repair it and gone.
So this is going to be a shorter segment in our show today, but I do want to lean into your experience as a implementations engineer, and you've been with this company 10 years.
It's crazy.
How the advancements in tech, how is that going to change the future of EV and the landscape out there?
Well, obviously, with battery improvements, the range will improve.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Now,
and it almost has to. I mean,
I drive a truck. I pulled a camper. Am I going to be able to do that with an electric truck?
Yes, but you can do it now. I mean,
not very far.
Yeah, the range definitely is affected. I mean, aerodynamics when it comes to EVs is a big thing. Plus, with the trailer and all that, you're adding a lot more weight. I mean, EVs are all about aerodynamics. I mean, the Model 3, for example, you buy a Model 3, it comes with what they call the aero wheels, and they are essentially just old school plastic hubcaps over like a regular rim. But those wheels are designed in such a way that they actually give you like 20 or 30 more miles per range. If you upgrade the wheels to a bigger wheel, what they call, I believe they're called like the induction wheels. If you get that, your range actually goes down because of aerodynamics. So that's what it's all about. They will increase battery range. I know the semi truck is apparently able to do 500, like fully loaded with a fully loaded 53-foot trailer. So batteries are only going to get better.
I'm a fan of the Rivian truck.
I love the way those things look, dude.
I'm still holding off a little bit. I love
Boxy,
the way they've got the space between the bed
The
and
tube
the cab.
thing? Yeah.
And you can pull, and they have different configurations that you can pull out, like a portable kitchen and all that for camping. But, I do want to touch on this. I think I was reading I don't know if it was Wired or something years ago. So speaking about EVs and speaking about pulling campers and fifth wheels.
Start catching up, Tim.
Yeah, that's good. I'm falling behind now because this isn't my favorite anymore.
Well, Shoop, I'm
So-
curious about your concern.
Campers.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So EVs have motors that drive the axles or the wheels, right? And those motors are driven by batteries, and that's why there's so much torque, because you're going directly from the battery through a computer controlled to a motor. Campers, right? They're already doing it in Europe. They can put motors on these wheels in the campers that are driven by EV, and it assists. Okay. So that way, you're improving your mileage that you can get by pulling them, and you're not pulling the weight, the dead weight that you're. I mean, because I pull about 8,000 pounds and that's a lot to be traveling. I traveled 5,500 miles this summer. If I was driving an electric truck and it had electric motors on both of the axles for the four wheels on that camper, think about what I would be able to do down the road when they perfect that technology.
It's like the manual push mower versus self-propelled. Like you can totally tell the difference.
But electric cars, I hear they're losing money on electric cars to get them out into the mainstream.
Yeah. The manufacturing process for an electric car, because of the battery technology, is so much more expensive than, what are called ICE cars, internal combustion engines.
But they're chargers, and once they get the cars out there and they're using their charging platform, that's where they're going to make their money back, right? But that's Tesla because they're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
One question. Wouldn't a electric vehicle still be better than gas-powered vehicle when it comes to pulling, regardless of any other scenario?
As far as like torque, you mean?
Yeah.
Of course.
Long term, that's going to be the play.
Yeah, the problem is that, like I said earlier, like those batteries are spec'd for that car at that size with those aerodynamics, right? And also the driver has a huge impact on range.
But the same thing could be said about gas-powered. Like,
100%.
They're not technically meant for, like, you know what I mean? But you're still going to get more out of battery than you would out of the other.
The gas is just more efficient when it comes to adding a trailer. It's all about aerodynamics, man. Yeah. Like the weight does obviously affect it, but like I said, the Tesla semi-truck, the only reason it's able to go 5,000 or I wish 5,000 miles, 500 miles and pull all that stuff is because they designed it to do that. Okay. The battery on that thing is like huge.
What do you think about the Cybertruck? Because I think it looks awesome.
I think
it looks stupid.
I love the Cybertruck, but I heard that from a lot of the early, like now that we're getting to see them versus...
There's so many little minute changes.
The panels and the parts having to fit together. You're seeing imperfections in the vehicle.
If we lived in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, I would drive the...
I'd like to have one.
Like,
I think it's cool.
Have you seen the little four-wheeler, the ATV that comes with it? Like they were designing an ATV that was supposed to come with a Cybertruck. I don't think that's going to ultimately happen, but it was a smaller Cybertruck in an ATV format. I think it's a cool idea. They are just way too...
There's a long way to go before they're actually useful.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to go into the last tasting, and then we're going to follow it up with electric vehicles and lifestyle, and we'll close out the show at that point. So, Suds, you are on. What kind of beer are we going to finish this fascinating show with Colby Sullivan and Tim Schaefer and myself, Shoop Dog? What...
Sorry,
it's on the office. It's labeled. I mean, it's like
yes.
It's not like it's a surprise.
Tell us about the beer, Suds.
All right, our final beer for tonight is the Trippel. That's a triple Belgian style ale Opens with a blast of spicy, noble hops that gives way to fruity aromas before delivering a dry finish. Won the gold medal for the best Belgian-style triple at the 2021 Great American Beer Festival. 8.5%.
Okay,
right,
this one's
hold on,
pungent.
real quick. Suds, question. So the name of this beer is Trippel, and it's a Belgian-style ale, and it won the award for the best triple at the Belgian award.
That's correct.
Did I get
In
that
its
right?
own category.
Okay, all right. I want to make
So
sure.
how many beers were in that category, and how much competition did it have?
Triple is the category,
I'm
and they
afraid
do
to
call
drink
it
this
triple.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
This one, just smelling it,
It's
burned all my nose hairs out. So.
oh, it's not bad at all. It's actually really good.
Hey, for real, for that percentage,
You know what?
that tastes
Dangerous
better
one.
than the rest.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Suds, what's your opinion on this beer?
Went down pretty smooth for that high alcohol percentage.
It tastes
Little
how it
dangerous.
looks, but not the way not how he described
Yeah.
it. Right?
What? So it's
Suds is off camera drinking all these beers. He gets all the leftovers, so he's got a lot more beer than we do. So I have a feeling
He read the
is
wrong
this
one.
is this show even being recorded
Yeah.
right now?
no, for real. That is delicious, and now I want I'm gonna start buying these.
He's back there drinking all the beers. Suds?
I haven't had anything.
I can't even describe that aftertaste.
All right, so our last segment is electric vehicles and your lifestyle and how it will change the way you work, live, and play on a daily basis instead of just driving the same old thing that we've driven for decades.
Yeah.
Right? So my first question is, how owning an electric vehicle changes your lifestyle?
So, yeah, I mean, if you're interested in EVs, I would just say that make sure that they fit your current lifestyle. They're not for everybody. I tend to think that most people can make the adjustment. Once I've heard it said that once you do something for 2 weeks repeatedly, it becomes a habit. So instead of going to the gas station, you're just plugging your car into your house every day. I don't think that's that big of a deal. People aren't going on road trips all the time. I will say, there's lots of resources out there. I mentioned Out of Spec Reviews earlier on YouTube. Definitely check him out. Kyle is awesome. He would, love for you to subscribe to his channel, like his videos, all that stuff. I have some friends that have EVs, and I've talked to them, and every single one of them said, look, if these came out, I wish these came out 20, 30 years ago. I would have switched a long time ago. EVs would change your life. I used to always talk about how in 2008, around there, I'd gotten an iPhone, and people were like, what is this toy? And I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, a smartphone will change your life, man. So will an EV. The only thing you want to be aware of is there's different types of charging levels. So there's what are generally agreed on 3 levels of chargers, right? There's level 1, 2, and 3, right? 1 would be like just plugging into a standard 110 outlet in your garage, right? Level 2 would be utilizing like a NEMA 1450 outlet, which is like your dryer type plug, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people will have those installed in their garage. Tesla, again, makes a particular charger. They call it the Tesla wall connector.
Well, they've got 2, right? They've got the wall connector, and then they have
they have the
one of them's like $200 and some, and one of them's like $400.
Yeah, so the $400, the more expensive one is the wall connector, where basically you hardwire that cable directly.
The $200 one's mobile.
It's called the mobile connector.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And-
now my energy bill's going up. To be honest, I'm
So-
gonna use the third option and just treat it like a gas station.
So
And
here's
then
the
once
thing.
a week I go.
Here's
and
the thing:
charge.
you'll spend so much more money at the public charging stations. Like on average, most people who charge an EV at home, it's 1 tank of gas a month, right? If you're it costs about $30 to charge an EV at home a month. Now,
Wow.
It's good to know.
Now with
Thanks.
me,
Yeah.
that was one of the main reasons I wanted solar at home. I wanted to be ready when I got an EV. I could just essentially charge it.
So they're
free.
charging more per kilowatt.
Yeah, well, plus you pay for the convenience of just being able to charge and go, right? At home, you may not have a fast charger. That's the thing. So I touched on 1 and 2. Level 3 is your Tesla supercharger, your ACS connector for Electrify America, that kind of stuff. Those are public chargers, right? Nobody's got a level 3 charger at their house.
Right. So Colby, with solar panels and wall power and an EV with a wall charger and all this stuff, what are you going to spend your money on?
Is the money still less than what buying gas would be?
What will you spend your money
I'll
on? Because obviously you're not going to be spending it on anything.
Yeah, I'll answer that in a second. Electricity is way cheaper than paying for gas. It just is.
Okay.
I
mean, I've never sat and charged a Tesla overnight just plugged into the side of my house, right? So I don't know what the cost technically is.
In a lot of areas, you can get different ways of paying for electricity where electricity is cheaper at night because less people use it. So
a lot of people
will charging your car at night.
A lot of people will get on that that metered plan or whatever, where it's off peak hours or whatever, where it's way cheaper at night.
Okay.
Or even the reverse where you could charge during the day, whatever. But with me having solar, I'm just going to plug my car in when I need it, charge it to 80% or 100 if I've got an LFP battery, and just be good with it.
Because it will go till 99, and the Tesla will be smart enough to slow down the charge, just like your phone will.
Yeah. So okay, that
tell our audience the difference between level 1 and level 2.
Yeah. So level 1 is your standard 110 outlet, right?
Yeah.
Like your laptop, whatever North American standard, right? Level 2 is the 40 or 50 amp charger.
A dryer.
Circuit. Yeah, like a washer and dryer, or a dryer is going to use that type of connection. So. Yeah, the Tesla wall connector is basically just going to be hardwired directly into that wiring in your garage. So instead of having the 1450 style connector that your dryer would use, the wall connector literally just hangs on the wall and is hardwired to that 240 circuit there. So plug your car right in. When you're done, you hang the connector up on the wall adapter, and you're done.
So an electrician's involved in the wall charger.
That depends on local things, but most people can get them for $500, $1,500 installed, about like that.
$500 to $1,500 installed, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I kind of slurred that one. Sorry. And I'm 4 beers in, and
see, that's what I like about this show. If you stick around for the third or fourth segment, usually our guest is
I've slowly just been kind of
my mom. Rest in peace. I love my mother. As she would have said, he's kind of loopy.
Yeah. But if you're just like you said earlier, if you're just driving to 10 miles to work, plug it into your outlet in your garage. I mean, 2 miles an hour, you could charge 10 miles in just a few hours. I mean, that's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Most people are going to benefit from a level 2 charger just because they may drive more at work.
I think a lot of people are scared because they're so used to going to the gas station, getting gas, and then it's like, well, if I go and have to charge it, I have to sit there and wait 30 minutes or an hour
and that's
for the
only
full
if you're
charge.
utilizing public
That's
chargers.
only if you want the full charge even.
Yeah, because
what's stopping you?
I had that
charging
conversation
5 minutes
So, dude,
and moving on.
with
Tesla. Go ahead.
No, I had that conversation with somebody recently. Rick, I know you're out there. I hope you listen to this so you'll know. But he said he doesn't have he races cars. He races Porsches on the track.
Cool.
And he said he just doesn't have the patience to wait for the charging when he pulls in. And
You don't
that's
have
his
to.
holdup on EVs. And he said, I'm just too old for that.
Well, so on average, I'm pretty sure most people are charging for about 15, 20 minutes at a Tesla supercharger, because remember, the goal is not necessarily to get to 100% battery. It's just to get you on your way to the next supercharger as far away as possible, which is going to be 80%. I mean, these cars, most of them these days can charge from 0 to 80 in 20 minutes. So it's not the end of the world. It's only going to get better. I don't think it's a big deal. Come on.
Yeah.
Like the ID4, I brought that up before, the Tesla models, they have 350 kilowatt chargers for superchargers. That's super fast. That's 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So most people are just topping off. If they're on a road trip, get off the interstate, you're right there at a gas station or whatever. Most of them have, Tesla chargers right there, just in a different part of the parking lot. You're going to the same place. You're just going to a different section.
I think it's the same thing. I don't think
it takes longer than getting gas. There's no doubt about that. But you know, you're going to use the restroom, get some food, get a drink. You can watch Netflix while you're charging.
Well, what I'm thinking,
watch The Office.
I could do that. I'm
know?
just, you know, so we talked about wall chargers and we talked about the impact that has. You got to spend the time and money to get that installed in your garage or whatever. But how do EVs, how is this going to really impact my lifestyle otherwise, like the workflow or the change in my process when I drive my car?
Well, that's a great question. So EVs, not universally, but generally, you can benefit from what's called one-pedal driving. Most EVs, you don't ever have to touch the brake. You let go of the accelerator, and they slow down, not aggressively like you're hitting the brakes, but they slow down to the point where if you let go of the accelerator, I'm not going to say gas again because it's wrong. I have to make myself not say gas, but you let go of the accelerator pedal, the car is going to actively slow down, not just go into like downshift like a traditional car would and coast. EVs are going to come to a stop if you let go of the
similar to a golf cart.
Exactly the same. So you can, if you need to get on it really quickly, hit the brake, right? But most people can do one pedal driving, and you just feather the accelerator, and so it's a little bit different. In like Teslas even have an option to enable what's called creep. Internal combustion engines, right? You got the brake pedal pressed down at a stoplight. If you let go, your car is going to go forward, right? Yeah. Tesla, you can turn that option on and off. It's called creep mode.
Oh, that's
cool.
If
you want to creep like a traditional,
I don't think I would want to creep.
I wouldn't want. Yeah,
I would hit something.
That's why they call it that. So like, if you want it to not move, you disable creep mode and you let go of the brake, and the car doesn't go anywhere. That's awesome.
So it's funny because my kids drive our golf cart around the neighborhood now, and I always tell them, hey, I'm prepping you for your future of EV and autonomous driving because, they're 10 and 12, and, by the time they're our age, their driving's just not really going to be, I don't think, a thing anymore. Now, that's just me thinking. I think everything's going to be autonomous. I think even Uber and Lyft and the things that we're used to today, which has revolutionized my anxiety when I go to conferences and everything, because I know I can always get from point A to point B just by opening my phone.
You should check out the
tapping
the Uber drivers that are releasing their fully autonomous Teslas. And it's literally just picking the people up and just
see. That's what I'm talking about.
Nuts.
Somebody mentioned this on social media the other day. They said the future of vehicles in the future, you're not going to have two cars sitting in your driveway anymore. Long term, you're just going to be picked up in an autonomous taxi, if you will. Yeah. I'll refer to it as taxi. We'll go old school. But Colby, we got to drive this show to a conclusion. So I'm going to finish this show by asking one more question. Let's talk about incentives, rebates, government programs, anything we can get into that might persuade our audience to go electric.
Yeah, so right now, at the time of filming until the end of the year, the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y have a $7,500 tax rebate. Now, it's not just those models. I believe your ID4 still has it, Chevy Bolts, that kind of stuff, although I believe Chevy is stopping production on those for at least 2024. But it depends on how many they sell, and there's certain thresholds that they hit where they can't give you the rebate. But as of right now, if you're interested in a Model 3 or a Model Y, you will get $7,500 back for your a tax rebate, which is really nice. I mean, you could immediately just apply that to the principal and help pay down your car a lot faster, or use it for something else. I mean, do whatever you want with it. It's your money. So if you buy a $40,000 Model 3, it's going to cost you $40,000, but you're going to get $7,500 back. You can immediately apply that towards your principal or whatever.
So that's 20 to 25% off right there on a Model 3.
And I keep bringing up Tesla, but I mean, there are other manufacturers that do the same thing. Yeah. 7,500 seems to be about the typical number. Do your own research on that. Don't buy an EV just because of that. But that is definitely something that you can get incentivized for doing. You're definitely going to pay less just to maintain the car. Your insurance probably will be a little bit more expensive, just full disclosure. But you're still going to make that up on, no gas, no oil changes, rebates, whatever.
Any specific speaker or book that you have read that could tie into this?
Not anything specific. I mean, I mentioned out of spec reviews earlier. Honestly, that's my preferred resource for this. I mean, Kyle,
Who is that? Say that again.
Out of spec reviews.
Okay, out of spec reviews.
Yeah, and Kyle will just literally tell you every single thing about the EV in question if you're interested in it. He'll tell you how to start it, how to drive it, because like some of them have shifters, some of them don't, some of them are just buttons. That's honestly, like, I would check that YouTube channel out and just kind of go look at the benefits of getting an EV, because remember when 2008 2007 circa smartphones were coming out, and I kept telling people, like, a smartphone will change your life, and people were like, whatever. I mean, dude, an EV will change your life. It's a totally different driving experience than a standard internal combustion engine. And
I got one final comment before we go that will tie all this up pretty well. The experience I had when I went to Tennessee and back with it is why I want it.
Yeah, I don't know what other endorsement you need.
You
were I'm making
the switch.
I'm seeing the way it handles, the way the acceleration works and brake works, the way you see the screen, the interface is incredible. It's like why people have iPhones compared to X, Y, and Z models of Android is because it just works and works pretty much flawlessly.
Yeah.
The interface is
Tesla
incredible.
is definitely the Apple of the space, for sure.
The way you can see the other traffic around you, it will know if it's a semi, it will know if it's a car, it will know if it's a truck, a bus, whatever. It will show almost like a rainbow road if you can go for a long time without, you're going to go for the next 100 miles and you have nothing to worry about, so just chillax. And it gives you this visualization as you're driving. The experience is the coolest part of why I want this Tesla.
Plus, like, cars nowadays are so over-engineered with their tech, right? Like, as far as the tactile stuff and the touchscreen stuff, whereas Tesla,
and if you buy it in the wrong year, you feel oh my God, the evolution of tech changes, and then you're stuck with old
whereas
technology.
Tesla's like, here's your big 17-inch screen, here's a very minimalistic interior.
So no antiquated technology when you buy a Tesla, because they will push the updates and everything. And going back to the analogy you guys used with mobile phones,
it feels like Apple.
I had to rip the BlackBerry.
I tried so hard with him. I tried so hard, man.
Did you have the little?
I have an Apple
ball.
I'm like, green bubble. That's not a good sign. What is this?
The pearl.
Hey man, I got an Apple.
I know. Finally,
I had to rip the BlackBerry out of my wife's hands to make the switch. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for enjoying another episode of Nerds on Tap. We'll see you next time as we talk with our next guest on AI in the online digital advertising space and how that has changed what you see and interact with online. I want to thank Colby Sullivan for joining us on our second episode of Nerds on Tap. And I think he has a buzz.
Thank you for coming on.
I don't
it was
have
awesome.
a Volkswagen Buzz. Those aren't really available in North America yet.
What's that?
Later.
I don't have a Volkswagen Buzz.
Play the music. Thank man.
That was cool.
All right, well,
I grabbed it. Got it?